Hello, this is Ben Ruley with the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District, and this is your weekly conservation report. Whether you work with the Conservation District, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, Farm Service Agency, your co-op, or your local crop advisor, there is a good chance that you are utilizing maps in your planning efforts. And there is a very good chance that the image at the heart of those maps is an aerial photo. Utilizing a good aerial photo allows us to better analyze the landscape and make better planning decisions. They can be used to determine wet and dry spots in a field, detect changes in soil types, analyze different types of vegetation, just to name a few. We can also use historic aerials to see how the land has changed over the years. One of the most successful agricultural information tools is the mass application of aerial photography. Pioneered in 1935 using hot air balloons. The original units combined two synchronized cameras. Each camera had 5 6-inch lenses and took photos from 23,000 feet, each photo capturing 225 square miles. One of the first government contracts was an aerial survey of New Mexico to study soil erosion. I thought it might be interesting to give a little background on the imagery we have available in Stearns County. It's certainly something that we use in our day-to-day work at the Conservation Office. The two main sources of aerial imagery we use at the office are USDA's aerials from the National Agricultural Imagery Program, NAIP, N-A-I-P, and the high-resolution aerials that the Stearns County has flown periodically. USDA's NAIP images are the aerials that you will most often see on field maps at FSA and many of the maps created if you are working with the SWCD or NRCS on a project. This imagery is typically flown during the summer and are considered leaf-on imagery taken when plant growth is in full swing. The National Agricultural Imagery Program is administered by the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Farm Production and Conservation Business Center. Historically, these aerial images were captured on a 5-year cycle. Recently, this has been updated to be done at no longer than a 3-year timeline. This is done so that not only government agencies, but the general public will have access to high-quality aerial imageries for an endless variety of uses. The most recent NAIP imagery was flown in 2021, and a new flight was scheduled to be collected this year, but has yet to be released to us or the public. This is typical though, because it takes time to stitch together all of those images and correct any areas from the data collection before the final product is shared. Stearns County also contracts with the vendor to have higher resolution imagery flown at approximately every 3 years. This imagery is collected at a finer detail and allows us to see more detail on the landscape. This imagery is flown early in the spring prior to spring vegetation growth. This is considered leaf-off imagery and allows us to better see things that are happening under a forest canopy or in the fields. Stearns County's most recent flight was also in 2021, and another flight is scheduled for 2024. You can access the county's imagery through their public GIS map through the county's website. Just search for Stearns County Public Map on the web. The final source of aerial imagery I wanted to touch on was some of the historic data that is publicly available. The University of Minnesota hosts a website called the Minnesota Historical Aerial Photography Online, MHAPO. A web search for that name or acronym will help you get to that site. This site allows you to access old aerial images across Minnesota. In Stearns County, you are able to view and download images from as far back as 1938. You can also find aerial images from the 50s, 60s, and 70s in Stearns County. It's pretty interesting to see how much has changed across the county in the last 80 years. Some farm buildings have stood the test of time and still remain where they were constructed all those many years ago, while other areas have gone from rural countryside to bustling cities. I hope you get a chance to check out some of the aerial imagery from some of the sources we discussed. If you are in the Stearns County Conservation Office and have any questions about any of these aerial sources, just let us know. Lastly, I want to wish everybody a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. This was Ben Ruley with your weekly conservation report. Thank you.